Reported earlier, a source telling NBC News that Senate negotiators have reached a framework for gun safety legislation. The talks are being led by Democratic Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut, who joins us now. Senator Murphy, thanks so much for your time this morning. So we're hearing about this framework is the term that's being used. Can you put a little more flesh on those bones? What all is on the table right now?
I really can. I think we still have work to do today, tomorrow, and through the weekend. But the good news is that there are more Republicans engaged in these conversations about trying to put an end to these mass shootings, these school shootings, than ever before. So between the meetings we had yesterday and on Tuesday, we had about 6 to 8 Republicans engaged. Back in 2013, after Sandy Hook, there was 1 Republican that was engaged in discussions. And, our hope is that we're going to be able to produce something for our colleagues next week. We're talking about a bill that will make a difference. It'll save lives. But it's not everything I want, not even close. It's red flag laws. It's improving our background check system. It's more money for mental health. There's other issues that likely will be on the table. But our hope is that it breaks the logjam. I mean, this has been 30 years of inaction on gun violence, and yesterday's shooting in Tulsa was the 20th since Uvalde, the 20th mass shooting since Uvalde, and it's just more, I think, evidence that this Congress needs to step up and do something.
Do you believe, Senator, that the Republicans you're talking to, you've worked with John Cornyn before on gun issues, do you believe that they're negotiating with you in good faith? There is some sense that they might want to get something on mental illness or school safety to say they did something and move along without addressing the guns themselves.
Oh, I absolutely think that our partners are negotiating in good faith. Senator Cornyn is a friend. He has been moved, as anyone would be, by what has happened in his state. And what we're looking at is, a proposal that is both an investment in our mental health system and changes in our gun laws. Listen, I don't believe our mass shooting problem is first and foremost a mental health problem. We have no more mental illness in the United States than any other nation. It's just in this country, if you're having homicidal thoughts, you can easily get your hands on a weapon of mass destruction, as opposed to every other high-income nation in the world. But I do think our partners understand that we've got to do both. We've got to invest in mental health, and we've got to make some common sense changes to our gun laws that are completely consistent with the Second Amendment to just make sure that dangerous people don't get their hands on weapons.
Senator Murphy, good morning. Jonathan Lemire. To Willie's point, we've heard now from Senate Minority Leader McConnell a couple of times specifically talk about school safety and mental health as the areas that needed to change in the wake of the Texas shooting, not mentioning guns. React to that, if you will, but also more specifically, where I just heard you mention background checks, red flag laws, raising the age on the ability to purchase an assault weapon from 18 to 21. Is that on the table in your discussions?
Well, I'll say this. I think we are having a discussion about the emerging profile of the mass shooter, and they really are chillingly similar from shooting to shooting. They are normally between the ages of 18 and 21. They are almost always male. Most of the time they're white, but not all the time. And so we are having a conversation about what to do about the fact that a lot of 18 to 21-year-olds are getting their hands on these complicated weapons. So I can't tell you yet, whether we'll have any agreement there. But I do think that Senator McConnell is being kept updated on our discussions, and my hope is that in the end we'll have something that he can support. I know that's tough to imagine happening, but I think everyone in the Senate, maybe with a few exceptions, have been moved by what has happened in the last week and feel a real political imperative to get something done.
Senator, this is Gene Robinson. It just so feels like we've seen this movie before. Tell me, how confident are you that whatever you come up with, however, frankly, incremental it is, it will be something, but are you confident that there are 10 Republican votes, the necessary 10 Republican votes in the Senate, to do anything on this issue, on the issue of gun safety?
Yeah, I cannot say I'm confident. And I'm confident in our negotiators. And the question then is, are there enough votes in the Senate to get this passed? I don't know yet. We're on recess. The negotiators have been working around the clock this week, but we've got to get back to Washington next week and see if there are enough votes on the Republican side to get this done. And I've tried to be very clear with my Republican partners and other Republicans that I'm not going to let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Maybe back in 2013, I wouldn't have settled for anything less than comprehensive background checks. But now I think it's important to show Republicans that there is political reward for voting with 90% of your constituents, that the political sky doesn't fall. So we've got to see if there's room there to get this done. But I think I've got partners at the table right now who have a lot of credibility in the Republican caucus, and that makes me feel good about our chances.
Senator, there is reality, as you know, Sandy Hook, Parkland, Buffalo, Uvalde, Tulsa, and then there is the United States Senate. Tell me, how do you prepare yourself to be disappointed?
I mean, listen, I've been at this for 10 years, but my disappointment is political disappointment, right? I mean, I have to be honest with you, I spend my life around the victims of gun violence, around moms and dads who have lost kids to gun violence. I mean, I'm just a bystander to the pain and the suffering that they go through. And I feel an obligation to them to spend every minute of my life trying to honor their fallen children with action that makes it less likely that kids in the future have to suffer the same fate. And so I know that some of the great change movements in this country have had a lot of failure, often have taken over a decade in order to achieve legislative success. And I just know that my disappointment is nothing compared to the horror that parents go through in this country, and that I have an obligation to them to just get up off the mat after having been knocked down time after time again and try and try and try. And what I know this time is that there are more Republicans involved in these conversations more seriously than ever before. Maybe it doesn't get to a final product, but there's reason to believe that maybe this time is different.
So, Senator Murphy, on that question of raising the age to purchase semi-automatic rifles like the AR platform guns that we've seen used in so many of these mass shootings, we know the defense, and we heard it again from Mitch McConnell yesterday, is you don't deprive law-abiding gun owners from buying a gun that they're legally allowed to buy at the age of 18. What is the case you make back on that, to say just raising the age to 21, that perhaps a teenager on his birthday shouldn't be able to walk in and buy a couple of these guns that are capable of killing so many people so quickly? What's your argument against that?
Well, I think it's important to remember that right now, if you are an 18-year-old, you cannot buy a pistol. So federal law does not allow 18 to 21-year-olds to buy a handgun. And the reason for that is that back when we wrote the law, the belief was that the handgun was the more dangerous weapon. That was at a time when, AR-15s weren't being, sold at the rate that they are today, and when they weren't being used in mass slaughter at the rate that they are today. So, we already have on the books a law that says for 18 to 21-year-olds, we want to be careful about not selling you the most dangerous weapons. And I would argue to my colleagues, we're just updating that law by talking about these AR-15s. Listen, I don't know, whether the votes are there for that law. I know there are Republicans that are interested in it, but again, ultimately, we're looking for something that can get 60 votes, something that proves to Republicans that you can engage on this issue and be politically rewarded, not punished. There's a whole host of things that I would love to do: raising the age, banning assault weapons, universal background checks. I may not get all of that, but I think there are some changes on the table right now that would save lives, and that's my bar, right? I want to do something. I'm willing for it to be incremental, but it's got to be real. It's got to be more than just a box-checking exercise.
And all of those positions you just laid out have the overwhelming support of the American public. Democrats, yes, but also many Republicans. Senator Chris Murphy, thanks so much for updating us on these conversations, this negotiation. We'll be back to you soon, I'm sure. Thanks for your time this morning.